Hello, this is Gary at Jack Raven Bushcraft. Thank you for watching our video. This week I'm going to talk about seed dispersal mechanisms. For me, bushcraft is intrinsically linked with the natural world. So the longer I've been practicing bushcraft, the more I've kind of come to realise, understand that bushcraft really is about understanding what's out there in the forest, what resources are available. So which plants are out there, which trees are out there, which animals are out there, all of these kinds of things. And recently I have been doing a little work around my botany. And so I thought I would just, in this video, talk about the different ways in which trees and plants are able to disperse their seeds. It's something that I find endlessly fascinating. Trees and plants have, very broadly speaking, a couple of different means of dispersing those seeds. So they can do it themselves, or they can get some assistance. So in terms of doing it themselves, the most basic method is just gravity. So just allowing those seeds to drop down onto the ground. So in trees, that would be something like these chestnuts. So this is a chestnut just behind me. This is last year's, but it is literally under gravity, just down it comes and lands on the ground. If you think about plants, an example might be something like hogweed seeds. So they're fairly sizable, maybe size of the end of my fingernail there, my little fingernail. And again, they're pretty much just falling straight down onto the ground. There is another means in which plants are able to disperse seeds themselves, and that's through explosion, essentially. So if you think of something like gorse, the seeds are in pods. So gorse is in the pea family. So those pods do look like kind of broad bean, runner bean type pods. There's generally 2 or 3 seeds in each of those pods. What happens with gorse is that, so the pod is airtight, and it dries out. And essentially it dries out to such an extent that it literally just pops open, and the seeds are kind of exploded out. So that's another way in which these plants are able to disperse the seeds themselves. Trees and plants can also get some assistance in dispersing their seeds. So there are a few different ways in which that can happen. So one is that the seeds can be eaten and then pooped back out again a little later. So for instance, I'm stood next to this elder, some elderberries here. Down next to me, blackberries. So essentially with these kinds of soft fruits, they have evolved to be eaten by animals and then pooped out a little bit later. So this is a bit of a risky strategy, because if the seed is in the stomach of the animal for too long, then obviously the stomach acids are going to start to break down that seed and to destroy it. So most fruits have a laxative effect, so they've evolved to have this laxative effect, so that they're not in the stomach for too long, so just long enough essentially to be pooped out somewhere else in a little pile of manure. We've bred that laxative effect out of most of the foods that fruits that we've cultivated for eating, but not all of them. So if you think about prunes, that kind of thing, so they can be eaten, such as this berry. A similar approach, where the tree or the plant is producing something that animals might want to eat, is with something like this oak behind me. So that's going to produce acorns, those acorns are then going to be taken by jays. So jays are responsible for 90-something% of acorn dispersal, so they're a really important species in environmental terms. And what those jays will do, they'll bury the acorns. And often what they try to do with them, in fact, is bury them at the base of things like hawthorn and blackthorn. So there is a saying that the thorn is the mother of the oak, and that's why. So the jays will bury the acorns. They won't remember where they've buried all of them. And so some of these nuts will germinate and grow again. Hazel is another example, so one right here. So with the hazel, those nuts are buried by squirrels, and again, they don't remember where all of them have been buried, and so some will germinate and grow. Another way in which trees and plants are able to use animals to disperse their seeds is by making them sticky. So here, that's a burdock. So with these things, you can see that is going to stick to my jumper. And so these have evolved so that these burrs stick to the fur of an animal that as it's passing by, and then gets dropped off again further along the trail. So making things sticky is a good strategy. Many plants and trees use the wind to help them disperse their seeds. So here, rosebay willow herb with these downy flower heads. So essentially think of these as being a little sail. So these get picked up in the wind and blown along and sort of disperse the seeds in that manner. There's another way in which trees in particular will use the wind. So here I'm next to a field maple, and maples produce these little helicopters. Sycamore will do it, ash will do it. So the idea with these, they're going to spin in the wind. And then finally we have water. So trees and plants can use water to help their seeds disperse. So very obvious example would be a coconut tree. So you often see coconut trees on the beach, and they grow out at an angle. The actual top of it is growing over the sea, and so when the coconut drops down, it lands in the sea and off it goes. So okay, we're not in those kind of tropical climates here, but there are trees and plants that do adopt that same kind of strategy. So poplar and willows produce a catkin, and those catkins float, and so they can float off down a river, get washed ashore a little further down, and start to grow. So I read a study recently that seemed to suggest that with willow catkins, the seeds are viable for longer if they have been submerged first. So it might actually be kind of a double whammy in evolutionary terms, so that they're able to travel that little bit further, and they're viable for that little bit longer. Just as a quick recap, trees and plants can disperse their seeds through gravity, through explosion. They can get animals to eat them. They can be sticky, so that the seeds stick to the coat of animals that are passing. They can be windborne. They can take advantage of water courses. I hope that's something that you found useful, something that will enhance your bushcraft adventures. I'll try my best to get some more content out next week. Make sure you don't miss out on that. You could subscribe either to our blog or to our YouTube channel. In the meantime, take care.